Hello, Antonia Gonzales here, and I am joined with Colton Shone. We have a couple things in common. Not only are we both broadcast journalists, but we're also Navajo. And so, Colton, welcome. And also, just first off, how are you? And people who may not be familiar with your work, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for having me. I definitely appreciate it. Again, my name is Colton Shone, and right now I'm currently an anchor and reporter here in Albuquerque for the NBC affiliates. And what I do is broadcast journalist. Went to school for that. Worked in a couple of different markets before landing here in Albuquerque, and I'm so excited to be here. Been here for 5 years now, which is crazy. And it's great because I've got family here in New Mexico. I've got family up on the reservation, so it's good to have them see me every morning and kind of give news updates. A little bit about my background, like you had said, I am Navajo Nation, and my family is from different parts of the res. My mom is from Lucachicay, and my dad's family is from Pinon. So they met at Chinle High School a long time ago, and that's kind of how things started, I guess. They met, then they moved to Phoenix, and that's where I was born and raised. But huge ties to the res. All of my family, really, all of them, are still there right now. So it's cool to have them be able to see me because our market falls into the Lucachicay area, so they can watch me and give all the news updates in the morning. So that's exciting.
And I know we've both been following news for the Navajo Nation and, of course, other tribes dealing with COVID-19, and it, the numbers just keep rising. And so sometimes, this is our job reporting on these tough issues. But tell us a little bit about some of your reporting on the Navajo Nation.
Yeah, so I've always had a passion, much like you, to tell Indigenous stories and how things are affecting Native American communities. It's something that I've done while I was in Phoenix, while I was in Tucson, and in every medium that I've worked in. I've always tried to find that Native perspective to bring to the mainstream media. And when it comes to reporting on COVID-19, it's definitely one of those issues that yeah, it's affecting a lot of people right now, all across the country here in New Mexico, but it's especially hard on indigenous communities. And seeing the numbers come out being so high as they are per capita, it's really scary, especially because I've got a lot of older family members, some family members who have compromised health with issues like diabetes. Like this is an issue that while I'm reporting on this, I'm also thinking about my family, hoping that they're staying home and that people aren't coming to visit them as much as this happens. Like on the res, there's so many different people that check in on you, or when you go to the store, you bring the whole family because sometimes it's like, oh, it's a family thing to do. Let's go to Bashes and get some stuff. So it's something that all of my family members are talking about. And I've got family who work at IHS hospitals, also the grocery store. So they are in close proximity to a whole bunch of people. So when we say stay home, we have these PSAs that are airing right now. Like I really hope that people really take advantage of that message. My sister is also a teacher near Shiprock. And when we see the number of cases in San Juan County also kind of gets really high up there, as well as McKinley County. Like these are my people. These are the people who I care about, and I want them to have good stories, not the negative stories about so many cases happening there. So that's definitely something that weighs on us, as journalists and as people.
And just to want to offer you a moment for encouragement for the Navajo Nation. There's a lot of young people out there who are doing amazing things. We see a lot of work helping elders. We also see just the resilience of our indigenous people, not only on the Navajo Nation, but across the country, who are really using culture, language, different ways of sharing as much as they can online, and just taking a cultural approach to addressing COVID-19. So, Colton, not only are we heading into Mother's Day weekend, and you have a baby,
Yes.
also just offer some words of encouragement to our Navajo Nation people and tribal people across the country and around the world, but especially during this Mother's Day weekend.
Absolutely. And I think you hit it the nail on the head there. That our people are resilient. We have a history of colonization and a whole bunch of other negative things that have happened to natives here in this here in our country. But it just shows that even now, where these communities, whether they're small or whether they're big, they are all banding together and they are taking care of each other. They're looking out for each other, and no longer, I think, are other people telling our stories about, the quote unquote plight of the Indian. We are using our own voices to get our message out there. I'm seeing all the work that young people are doing, and they're documenting it, saying this, these are my people, and I'm showing how we are coming together as a community to build each other up. Yeah, I've seen some national news stories that kind of, show the situation as dire, and that sometimes it kind of comes off, without an indigenous perspective, where, some questions are asked where you're like, well, if you understood the history of the people, then you would kind of know what's going on and how things are the way they are. That definitely is another topic that could take up like an entire day, I'm sure. But I'm glad that we're able to tell our stories now. Everyone's a journalist, it seems like, with their phones nowadays, citizen journalists, showing and documenting. So that, I think, is important. And as to the other thing you mentioned about Mother's Day, yeah, Mother's Day is happening. And, I remember last Mother's Day, I went back to my grandma's house on the res, and that's when we gave my mom the news that, she was going to be a grandma. And we butchered sheep, and it was already like planned to happen, the sheep butchering. And, I know that we miss those gatherings and things like that. But at this point in time, I think we're canceling everything to keep everyone safe. My grandma's 90 years old, and I've got family members who, like I said, are health compromised. So not doing these huge gatherings because of my grandma on my mom's side, I have 11 aunts and uncles. So you can imagine how many different cousins that I have, just first cousins, when my aunts and uncles have like, 3 or 4 kids each between them. So it's insane. But when it comes to the health and the well-being of our people, we have to respect those social distancing messages, because we want to be around even longer than all of the trials and tribulations that have, presented itself to us as people throughout the history. We want to keep going into, goodness, what, a lot longer than now. You know what I mean? Just keep going with our stories and keep going with our culture, and protecting the elders, because my grandma, my mom, they all speak Navajo fluently, and they know all the stories. And I would say that I'm pretty conversational in Navajo. But I'm still calling them and asking them, well, how do you say this? Like, how do you say this in Navajo? And we need to keep them around, all of them, so that we can learn more and pass it on to our children and to our grandkids one day. So stay home, protect everyone, and protect yourself.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm a huge advocate for broadcast journalism, being in both radio and television, and definitely for our Native people to be in everything, tribal media like I am, and
Yeah.
mainstream like you are, and just like you said, everybody's a storyteller and especially with cell phones and now with social media. So thanks for sharing words on that, Colton, and happy Mother's Day to your wife and your family, your mom and grandmother. And also want to wish a big happy Mother's Day to my mom, Evelyn Begay Gonzales. Also, my late grandmother also lived to be 99 years old. So from Delcon, Arizona. So if she was here today, just thinking of her as well, and all the mothers out there. And thank you so much, Colton. And I look forward to seeing you and seeing your work.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much.